Happy Sunday, fun day before Monday work day. How's everybody doing? So today I was called to come on here to talk about a couple different things. The first thing I want to show you is the shirt that was called to be put upon my body today. And it's Sup, Witches! Yeah! Because I'm getting a little this morning. Why is that? It's because I went to a conservative political gathering in DC for the last couple days just to be in the energy without media distortion. Because what you hear, what you see, what you sense on television, whatever podcast systems, whatever media outlet, so much of it can be edited, AI can be inserted, and it can be something that can retrain your brain to hear things in a different way with frequencies that you may not welcome versus when you're actually in the presence of something live. So I had an opportunity to go. It's not the first time that I've done it. I love playing with the energies of self, of my self-regulator. I love going to places alone or within small, large, medium amounts of people. I like to go solo. I like to go in groups. Doesn't really matter. And I play with my control dials of who I am. So I get to know myself better and how I can self-adjust and bring into balance in any environment. So to me, it's a huge learning experience. And it really helps me balance my introvert extrovert. Helps me balance my nervous system. It helps me regulate so many things within this physical house. And it allows me to work through different stages of calibration of me. And then it lets me be aware that if things are sticking upon me that don't belong to me. So this morning I posted a little video on my Instagram, Sandy Ellis _922, Sandy Ellis _922. And it was me in the middle of listening to the president speak and then taking a picture and adding a couple things to it. And it was really just me saying, hey, I'm there listening to something live, you know. But many people that are there are Trumper thumpers, and I get it. And, you know, I am not an easily influenced person. And I can be among the best of them, and all of them could thump one way. It doesn't mean I got to join them. And so that's also the beauty of working with your self-regulator and your self-calibrator, is that I want to come to conclusions, thoughts, feelings, opinions on my own, through my own research, through my own due diligence, through how I may gather information and translate it within myself. That is what makes me tick. And so I'm A-okay with whatever goes on externally in this world, that I'm not caught up in the whirlwind, the cyclones, the herds, any of it. I'm A-okay standing by myself with the me, myself, of thyself, and not accepting any yays or nays because they are irrelevant to me. They're irrelevant to me. because I want to respect everybody else for how they come to their conclusions. Now, when you're in large groups, no matter what it is, some people get caught up in the clapping, thumping, yelling, everything, and it might not even have been their intention to do so. And that's how we get caught up in a current and a wave of following. And until you actually learn to stop, drop, sit, connect with that breath and align yourself, adjust your dials accordingly so that you could stay in some kind of neutral, but still let all your systems keep moving, and then allow your sensories to bring in information, and then allow the information to come in so that you can process it, translate it, and cycle it back out. So it's your response, your reaction to what is occurring. And that it's becoming of you. That it's becoming of you. You know, I woke up this morning and I kept saying, human detector, human detector, human detector. And so doing stuff like this helps me work my human detector. It lets me see, sense, and feel my internal and external environment at the same time. Because remember, what you practice, you will skill. What you skill, you will become more masterful at. So that you don't say things or respond in a certain way that you're like, I have no idea why I just agreed to that, or why didn't I say no, or why didn't I say yes? It's because you've allowed yourself to get swept up in the majority current instead of learning to work your minority and choosing where you want to ebb and flow. And the only way to do that is to get in there and play. So I had a lot of fun again, playing in another large, crowded environment. And it was most enjoyable, actually. So, you know, when I get these confrontational comments that come in, I look at them all as a learning experience. I don't look at it as something I've got to prove to win. So my response is never one to prove I got to make my point. It's like, okay, I respect your opinion and your things do no harm. Please step back and respect mine and know that I do no harm. So once you step into something and you are trying to prove something, you've already lost. So be conscientious of what it is that you want to step into before you step into it. And the only way to know that is be connected with yourself on all different areas and all different systems so that you're igniting the energies of divine love. You're not tapping into the confusion where now you could be easily swayed and swept away on a current that you had no intention of being on. And before you know it, you're downstream and struggling. And then we do what? Spend a lot of time beating ourselves up. Well, get in the commander seat and start controlling thyself, and you will not run into these problems. And if you do, you'll snap it right away. You'll know right away. And you'll be like, oh, turn. I got to turn. And I don't mean physically, but sometimes physically you need to. But sometimes you just need to turn the energetics. And come back to the main frame. Get in that commander seat and start controlling from there. Super, super duper important. You know, the other thing that cracks me up is anybody who knows me knows that I'm not easily influenced. I'm not easily influenced. You know, just last week, I sat with a very dear friend of mine who channels extremely well. And the message was, we need to pack, get out of Dodge for a little bit. I listened. Okay, thank you for the information. She knows I won't do anything with the information until it registers within me. So there's no imbalance of fear, trust, love, personal understanding of me. There's no imbalance there. I stay completely balanced until I am guided to make steps that either could agree with or maybe not, or maybe in another completely different direction. So I'm not easily influenced because I stop, drop, sit, connect with my breath, hone it in, skill it in, try to become more masterful at operating this vehicle. That is me, because it's the only thing I have control over. The only thing I have control over. Yeah. So in order to operate in the best way that we possibly can and uphold the authenticity of who we are, we first have to let go of all the programming and the flocks. Because we're really doing away with the polarity of this side and this side. Although we have to be a fulcrum and balance, but the balance is swinging constantly with many different things on it. And until you zip it up and align with who you truly are, you've got to step away from what has been influencing you. So I have said this for decades now. We become what our parents are and what their parents are and what their parents are. Even when we fight against it and we may go off in our canoe in this direction for a decade or two, lots of times we come back to the same kind of behavioral patterns until you break that. Get out of your canoe and go find your own transportation and your own waterways and walkways and how to get there. You know, I really prided myself on never influencing my children religiously or politically. I just did what I knew was right, and I'd always ask questions, or they could ask questions of me. Well, but what if? And I go, yeah, I know. What if? What if that isn't correct? What if that was distorted? You know, how much research do you want to do so that you feel comfortable with whichever decision and byways that you want to be on, and how many byways you want to be on? Because nothing says you got to be on the same highway from birth to death. You have opportunities to move around the globe and beyond if you so choose to. Yeah. And it's also interesting is when you come into what I want to call your own authenticity, there's just a feeling that you don't have to prove it to anybody. You just don't. And you could be okay with the clear knowingness of what it is that you know. And if it's something that you need more answers to, because we're so used to things being book proven, that we bypass that innate, intuitive, God self spark of divinity that we are, that has so much more opportunity to share answers with you, to dialogue with you. But again, we're all in that 10 and 2 in directions of where we got to go, got to do with our vehicles. We wind up doing that with partnerships, businesses, children, families, and then we have this struggle to try to create some individual identity. I watched my mom try to separate my sisters who are identical twins, but they were born thinking they were fraternal twins. She wanted them to have their own individual identity, so she did not follow what everybody else did and dress their twins alike. She dressed them separately. She encouraged them to be independent. It really wasn't until 4.5 decades later that they took a test and found out that they were 99.9% identical. And so my mom's attempt to separate and encourage individualism with them kind of backfired, because it made them feel like, why are we so attracted to each other that we complete the same thought, and we just only rely on each other for mirror images, even though they're not mirror twins. So I never understood it, but yet I respected my mother for it because I understood what she was trying to do. But when we were little, I knew they were identical. I just knew. I could always tell them apart, but I knew. But I'll never forget when the results came in. They were like, oh my gosh, we're 99.9, identical. My mom's like, well, what does that do for you? And then they were like, they kind of lost for words. I said, Mom, it lets them know they weren't crazy. It lets them know what they innately knew, that they came in the womb with a codependency upon each other for a reason. And so to this day, they're inseparable. Yeah. So creating our own identity through authenticity means we've got to separate ourselves from everything that we've been taught and learned, because we're finding out so much has been tainted, distorted, and placed in front of us to create a current within us that guides us in a whole different direction than what we really were meant to go in. And so no matter what church, synagogue, mosque, belief system you have on that side of it, we have to remember that each of those may have a piece of the puzzle, and it just might not fit. And someone said to me the other day, we're a square peg trying to fit in a round circle. I said, no, we're a round circle and we can fit into almost any square peg, but we never fill it all the way out. So we never feel like we belong. And each of us are a circle. We're complete. We just may have been poked a few times. And some very valuable energy is leaking out. So in order to patch that and become more into our wholeness of the human that we came here to be and to experience and to learn and to thrive, we've got to patch those up and become an individual among everyone before we can ever become a collective. And so many things are learned as children. Oh, well, I really like them, so I want to believe what they believe. I'm going to stick to their team. Oh, they look like they're the popular group, so I'm going to go try to become part of them. And how many people have ever tried that and then realized, I don't really like these people? And it goes on and it transfers all the way up into our adulthood. Just being at this event for the last couple of days, I watched grown adults of all different shapes and sizes, all different IQs, etc. Some herded and followed, and some would break off and try to get through an exit and create it as an entrance so they could sneak in, or they would blatantly lie about who they were, yet their ticket and everything would say who they were. Or they would seat hop, or they would complain. I had one woman literally walk up to me and say, and it's packed, there isn't a seat to be had. She came up and said, I don't understand why people are saving seats. I got here and I've been wandering all the way around like 3 or 4 times. I'm exhausted. I said, I'm so sorry to hear that. Many came very early and made sure that they got their seats. Well, people shouldn't be able to save their seats. I said, of course they can. If they get up to go to the bathroom, they're welcome to leave their things on their seat. Well, I'm a diabetic and I'm tired and blah, blah, blah. And she had her daughter with her, who's maybe 12 or 13, which I was like, wow, you brought her to a rally. That's kind of cool. Then why did you have to display something about yourself? I didn't get here early. I'm angry that other people did. I'm upset that people are saving seats. And you know what? What if you were there early and you saved your seat and came back and someone else took it because maybe you didn't put the right thing on it? Now you and your daughter are standing. Are you going to complain to me then? Why, yes, I believe you will. But my response was just, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I hope that you feel better. I hope that you find a seat. So I didn't feed into it. And then I didn't kind of shake my head like, holy shit, what on earth? Why on earth would you come find me and tell me your saga because you were incapable or unable to get here early like everybody else? So I was very mindful of my thoughts about watching this display of human behavior. And I guess for me, it's just, instead of me trying to judge it, I was actually just trying to smile and say, wow, I can only imagine what they were like at 5 or 6 or 10 or 16. Interesting. Anyway, so back to why we got on this video. Learn to be your own social content maker. Be your own social content influencer. Not by what you think is going to give you an approval rating or something that's going to get you monetized or something that's going to get you notarized or something that's going to get you high subscribers. So it's see me, see me, see me. Are you okay standing alone if you have 0 subscribers? Are you okay making your own media content for yourself by blanking out everything that you've learned up to this moment? And maybe actually hear thoroughly what someone else is trying to say to you without already having in your head that they're dead wrong, you don't believe it, you're dismissing everything because you're preordained and pre-programmed to do so. Instead of just listening and seeing if there's anything that could possibly resonate with a deeper chord than what the superficial self is accustomed to filtering. The superficial self is what has been filled with everybody else's thoughts, opinions, and beliefs. Factual or not. You truly don't believe the facts because we're finding so much has been distorted, which is why we are in the age of truth being revealed. So are we going to go in and look at the truth, or are we going to focus on how it was so untruthful and focus on how it got untruthful? Or are we just going to look at the truth and allow that to be sort of outstanding for us in this moment? And then maybe go back and backtrack how we can prevent that from occurring later. And that's the beautiful thing about gatherings. And I could walk out of there yesterday and people are like, oh, you're this or that. You do not know which way I voted or did not vote. Whether my presence was there. One time I walked out of a DC hotel and I was smack dab in the middle of, I think, Israel and Palestine. Everything. Insane crowds. I just stopped. I literally stopped just to listen. If I was to get down the street a little bit further, maybe someone would say, oh, were you over there on their side? I just stop to listen. Don't judge what everybody else is doing. People have the right to be able to share information through vocals, expressions of oneself, and it's generally to help something or something that they believe is helping. But if we're not listening to all sides, communication is dropped, it's lost, it's distorted. We can never come to any balance, can never rectify anything and prevent anything if we're not listening. If we're not listening. Do you think every single one of the vendors that were at this event were all like for this thing? No, they just happened to be able to get one trying to sell their wares, and their wares could have been, we need to bring awareness to, a particular subject, whether it was moms, children, whatever it was, or whether it was somebody there trying to just catch interviews because that is what keeps them afloat. The more people that they can interview on different sides of everything, the more that keeps their show or whatever it is that they're doing afloat. They may not agree, and I don't think anyone there was agreeing 100% with anything, and it's not my business to judge that. So be careful what you think. Be careful what you cast out. Be careful what net you're throwing and grouping someone into something else, because they could really be like me and be extremely independent of so many different things that I may be categorized in. I always have a contingency plan. I go somewhere and it's like, if the energy comes, okay, it's like, okay, thank you. It's time to exit stage left. And how do I have all that? Because I practice it. And that's what I teach in my practice. How can you become independent so that you can truly solidify who you are as a divine, beautiful being without all the clouds and the smoke and the distortion that honestly blocks clarity? So I'm hearing that's enough for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope that it encourages and empowers you to step aside, to be different, to be okay wherever you do step, and not allow people's judgments to wear you down, to come in through your energy field and just exhaust you or piss you off so much you feel like you got to put your dukes up and fight your way out of it. When you get into this place of being neutral and you really learn to operate this beautiful avatar, you will learn that none of that occurs for you. None of it. None of it will faze you. And the only thing you need to do is work with your lessons in which you're given for today. And then how you can stay in this space of the who of the you in the isness of all of it. Because as source, we are. And we are of source. All right? Please like, subscribe, share, leave me a comment. Let me know how you're doing. How you doing today? And just know I love all of you guys. And if you need any help, oh my gosh, embodimentofthesoul.com. Just email me. You can do a Zoom session anywhere, anytime. All right? Have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.